Mr. Mashaba, I've got to ask, why aren't you here in Cape Town with us?
Well, good evening, Sally. No, I'm here in Cape Town, unfortunately, because of the bedding down of our parliament. I could not really get a ticket because of the number of guests that our city hall can take. So I am here in Cape Town, 5 minutes away from the city hall, and that's a tragedy of our country. And I think, Sally, really just the last 10, 15 minutes listening to the two ministers, I just want to share with you and the listeners out there, we are led by delusional political leadership, or alternatively, we as South Africans are fools. Let me tell you why. They made the minister you interviewed, the Minister of Trade and Industry, a communist, someone who leads trade and industry, a communist, someone who hates business. So that's someone who's actually leading such a critical department to create employment opportunities and attract investment in our country. It's a communist. And now you've just been interviewing Minister of Home Affairs. I'm dealing with a case right now of an illegal Nigerian responsible in 3 cases of the ones that have given the police and everyone evidence of this criminal, basically. I'll call him a criminal because he's responsible of hijacking 3 buildings that have given to the police the evidence. And he's in the country illegally. He's involved in all manner of crimes, including drugs and everything else. I got him arrested. I had to fight to get him arrested. And a week later, released on bail without informing us. I cannot understand any self-respecting country with a Minister of Home Affairs who have written, I don't know how many letters, not even have the decency to answer to acknowledge the receipt of my letter, to say, Minister, we've got a crisis. Here's someone who's in our country illegally. The police were refusing to arrest him. I've eventually got him arrested, and a week later got released. So I think for the Minister of Home Affairs, with the amount of airtime that you've given him, but giving you political platitudes without actually dealing with the real issues facing us as South Africans.
Yeah, Mr. Mashaba, it's Dan Moyane here. I hope you can hear me. In terms of what was announced today as a state of national disaster for electricity, and also the new Ministry of Electricity, what's ActionSA's view?
Well, Dan, we've just created a Department of Looting. I think it's an additional, the National Disaster of Looting. And also we are seeing Mugabe-style type of administration being created where you are consolidating power in the presidency. And I just really want to warn President Cyril Ramaphosa, the South Africans, we are not going to be like Zimbabweans, sit back and watch him destroy our constitution. The constitution which he was responsible for its creation in 1996. And now he's trying to consolidate all the powers. Intelligence, now he's consolidated, adding additional ministry in a country where 29 million of our people live on his 350 grants, and with 12 million of our own people unemployed. And he creates another department which is not going to add anything but any benefit to South Africa. So I think it looks like since President Cyril Ramaphosa in the ANC, we need actually, for me, as far as I'm concerned, we need a national disaster of ANC, because it's actually a national disaster. But fortunately enough, our constitution is going to allow us to challenge them. And I can tell you, as I'm sitting and talking to you right now, tomorrow morning I want to really talk to our legal people to really challenge all these draconian, irrational decisions before it is too late. I cannot afford to see another Zimbabwe emerging in front of us, and us as South Africans are sitting back and not do anything about it.
Mr. Mashaba, is JJ. What do you make of the call for a social compact? The president acknowledging that it didn't take off because of as he said, things that came in the way of that progress. What do you make of pulling together as a society to try and deal with these problems that are facing us? Is there anything in the speech that creates any sense of hope? It's a long speech of 2 hours. Anything at all that calls, in a sense, that challenges you, right, to dig deeper in terms of solutions you can place on the table as an extra parliamentary party at the moment?
Look, JJ, let's deal with the elephant in the room in South Africa. When you deal in an environment where there's a breakdown of the rule of law, you're creating a serious precedent for the country. So, I mean, the President Cyril Ramaphosa, with all due respect, it does not really qualify to really address us as a nation, because he's the president that is facing serious legal challenges, serious criminality. I mean, this matter, it's not something that us as South Africans, we must take lightly. And he never said anything about it. He can come out with all his political platitudes and nice words. But at the end of the day, the elephant in the room is President Cyril Ramaphosa not addressing his involvement with criminal syndicates. Whether Fraser is talking about 4 million rands and another someone else coming out with $580 million US. JJ, ask the American government. I'm sure you've been to the United States. In the United States, you are not allowed to leave or enter the country with $10,000 US in cash. Now, here's the president of the Republic of South Africa, a constitutional democracy, with a president who's dealing in dollars, someone who does not actually believe in our banking system. I'm actually quite concerned, because we're talking about something that I took out of this. Here's the man talking about the establishment of a state bank. So is he talking about coming out with a state bank so that he can get an opportunity to actually loot further? Because we've got existing banks that have been held throughout the world in the last 25 or 30 years of our democracy. Now, here's the man who's in the forefront of actually protecting our constitution. He is the first one who's violating and not saying anything about it. That's why I was saying to you, we are led by delusional political leadership, or alternatively, all of us as South Africans, we must be fools to accept honestly what I would really call the nonsense that we were subjected to, the 2 hours of the president coming out with everything that he said over the last 7 years of his presidency. He spoke about 9 wasted years. I can tell you, you know what? President Cyril Ramaphosa is the worst president in the 400 odd years of our country that we've ever seen, including the new South Africa. If you look at, if I compare Jacob Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa, for me personally, my lived experiences under Cyril Ramaphosa, the situation is worse.
I think we may have lost our comms with Mr. Mashaba there. Interesting. The issue of Phala Phala not going to go away. I'm going to ask you for your final thoughts in just a moment.